Hey Dragonball Infinity, this is your roleplay admin Luke, and I wanted to do another video on the roleplay update. This one, the main topic for this one is expectations and introductions. Um, First, I want to introduce you guys. No, I want to introduce myself to you guys. Some of you have known me for several years, but you may not know me personally. Only a few of the admins actually show up for me on like a day-to-day sort of basis, and that's pretty much just Rizian actually. Um, I'm 25. I'm a college student. If you notice behind me, you'll see uh, boards and maps and things. I'm actually at the college right now doing these videos. I don't have internet at the house, so I'm using the free internet that I can find to help me put up these videos and keep in contact with you guys for right now until I get it at the house. Um, I'm 25. I'm a college student. I'm majoring in fine arts and graphic design. I'm an assistant teacher. I volunteer at the Atlanta Soup Kitchen, and I work as a chef in a restaurant. Um, I've been I was brought to DBI several years ago. I was originally a Saga player. I wasn't very prolific back then. You wouldn't remember any of my names, even if you were around back on Saga. But I got my job as a roleplay admin on DBI after I made my first arc with my demon character. I suppose that I impressed just the right people, just enough, and they thought it'd be a good idea to add me to the staff. I learned to build from Talling and from several of the other builders, like Bojack and things, and I slowly, my role on DBI has changed over the years. It's shifted. At one point, I was actually the head admin. I've been head roleplay admin. I've been head builder. I've done a lot of different things for Dragon Ball Infinity, but the thing that I'm most passionate about is roleplay. So uh, I do other projects in the mud. I'll build areas. A lot of you know my areas, like the areas on Mithrian Asteroid, Cortican, the Lotus Temple, um, and just recently Sector 8. And I'm going to be trying to make. We as the admin staff have decided that it'd be better if each admin chooses a planet and start to centralize on those planets and work on them long term. I'm probably going to choose Hydia, so you're probably going to be seeing a lot more areas for Hydia. But besides that project, I'm also going to be trying to do more areas like Sector 8, areas that take specific places in roleplay, places that are important, and flush them out, bring them to life, and bring them to the mud. Hopefully, eventually, we'll even replace all the old stock areas. So, uh, just keep that in mind. Um, for this video, if you hear any power tools, something going on in the background, I'm actually in the welding department. So, just bear that in mind. You might hear students walking through the halls or something. But that's my introduction. That's who I am. I encourage you guys to make your own YouTube videos, introduce yourselves. Having a personal connection with who you're talking to can be really important um, for things like roleplaying, and especially for our community. It really helps centralize, what sorts of people that we're dealing with, and gives you an idea as to why they roleplay the sorts of things that they roleplay, and why their characters might have certain traits. Because you pick up things from life experiences that influence your characters, and your personality dictates what the personality of your character is going to be like. So I think it's really interesting to see people for who they really are and to get to know them. And again, I think it's important. I think it helps fosters a stronger community, and that's another reason why I'm doing this video, is why I'm doing this roleplay update video. But so that's my introduction. Again, post your own introduction if you feel the need to, or if you decide that you'd like to, and reply to this video with it. But now let's talk about a little bit about expectations for this new age. Especially for you returning characters, you returning role players, people who have been around since the last age, people who have been on DBI for several years, people who know the setting really well. My expectations are higher. My expectations are a lot higher this time around. I'm not going to read through the same 30, 40 logs of the same things that's going on, the same kind of bar fights, the same sorts of villains, the same sorts of plots and problems, especially if your characters tend to have reoccurring themes. I'm going to go ahead and just throw out some names here. Lying, Calmega. I was on last night, saw a roleplay by them, and it seemed very typical. There's times where Sometimes it's good to just get back into the setting by doing something familiar, but really, especially you older guys, you older role players, you guys know the setting well enough to where you can be creating much more diverse and much more interesting content, and I'm expecting you to do that. I've given you the tools. I've even created a whole new planet, Xeon 7, that you guys can go and become interested in and become involved in the events there. Um, there's just a lot that's changed at this age, but I'm expecting more from those types of role players. For you new guys, I'm going to break down how I grade roleplay logs. As you know, there's two different colors of roleplay points. There's red points and there's green points. Green points are awarded for just general role plays. You almost always get green points for any role play that you do, but you'll get more green points based on the depth of the story, any character development, uh, interesting plot, things like that. Social interactions, interactions with other players, interactions with NPCs, maybe just describing the landscape in a really good and really detailed way that can help boost how many green points that you get. Red points are a little bit more difficult to explain, and they're a little bit more subject to ebb and flow. I've been in the last year, I've been awarding red points for story. If you are involved in a plot that has a really significant story, it's really interesting. If your roleplay logs aren't just constantly about combat and they're advancing what is actually happening, I've been throwing you a red point every now and then. Usually it's only about 1 point if you're doing that, and that way, even the long kind of what some people might think of as like boring conversations, as long as it's furthering the plot, you might get a red point just for that. And eventually those tally up. Those really do start to accumulate. But red points are mostly awarded for training, for combat, and for like mental exercises sort of fall into that. If you're having some sort of like lesson on your psychic powers, you're delving into I don't know, a dream world or something like that, and you're having weird experiences that can affect your red points. My scale is that I do 1 to 5 for each color, for each log. So the best that you can get is 10 points, which is 5 reds and 5 greens. And that's a perfect log. That's a log that has a lot of plot-oriented material. It shows character development. It shows your ability to roleplay. Your grammar and everything is all very good. It has combat training. Has some kind of has significant action and events. If you get 10 points from one of your logs, it was perfect. It was, or at least as close to perfect as we can hope to have on Dragonball Infinity. So starting at that scale, if you 5 points in either red or green, means that what you were doing was exactly what I was expecting. It's exactly what we're looking for on Dragonball Infinity as far as roleplay goes. The average, though, is about 3. 3 green points is about average. 3 reds is about average. If you get less than that, if you get 2 reds or 2 greens, that means that something was amiss, something was just a little bit shy, and that's a good way to find out. That's a good way to scale how well you did, and that can help you start to ask questions. Like if you do a log and you get back and you only got maybe 2 greens and 1 red, there's something wrong, or you have some improvements that you work on, and that's when you can contact me and ask me, why, what about this one what didn't hit the mark? But you should expect about 3 greens and 3 reds from combat-oriented and story-driven logs. And that's pretty much your scale. Certain admins have different interpretations. You're always going to get the halo effect. You might write something that one admin thinks is just amazing, it's just like above the bar, and then you might have another admin go back and read the same log and not be nearly as impressed by it. Fortunately, that's just criticism, and you're going to have to deal with that. You're mostly going to be dealing with me, but you'll probably get Rizian and Ryan and maybe even Rakam looking at some of your logs every once in a while. As far as expectations, I really want to see more long-term arcs, long-term stories more important and significant events happening. You guys have had your power scaled up with this new age, which means that right from the beginning, you're capable of a lot more than you ever were in the past setting. And that means that the things that you're doing should be more impactful. Uh, the bar is set a little higher, so you're capable of doing a lot more right from the beginning now than you were before. So I'm expecting your arcs and your plots and your stories to be influenced by that. Um, you know, go out there, find the Red Ribbon Army, face them, create a military group and shut them down, things like that. But we don't need to see a lot of the same old tired kind of stories and plots, things that people have run the ground over, several times before. You know, again, it's okay to occasionally visit the bar and have a drink and have that typical bar you know, scuffle, but it's not something I want to see right out of the gates. I want to see new content. I want to see you exploring new worlds that we haven't really seen a lot of. I've seen a lot of Earth in the past few ages, from Sector 8 especially, Sector 71, Abingdon, Bear Forest, things like that. We've seen the Earth in a lot of detail, and the Earth is always a good starting point. Most people send themselves there in their logs, but I want to see you branch out. I want to see you go out into the universe. I want to see you find new things, and I want you to add richness and depth to those places. I want you to give those places new life. And by doing that, you're going to create more memorable events. You can create more memorable stories because you'll have that flair of uniqueness instead of just some random bar in Sector 71. So that's pretty much what I'm expecting from you guys. I'm going to be putting out a series of little short videos to help new role players who need help identifying with their characters and help creating their biographies and just general tips and information that I've picked up over the years. I'm not a master role player by any stretch of the imagination. I think I'm educated in our system and I'm educated in how to do it. I know the basic principles, and hopefully some of the knowledge that I have can help you make your characters more rounded and make them more interesting. And of course, you guys can always reply to these videos with your own information, your own knowledge, and your own tips. So expect that series coming up really soon. I'm going to be trying to work on it as long as I can get a stable internet connection. I'm here at the school today, so I'll probably work on that today. But expect that at least in the next week. Hopefully they'll all be done in the next week. I'm also going to be using this channel to respond to specific logs. In fact, I may switch over entirely from writing a review of a log and actually just post a video every time I read one, because it's easier for me to explain my thoughts than it is for me to really analyze them critically, and it leaves too much to interpretation. You can feel the depth and the tone of my voice, and you can see how I react. And I think that's more important than the little blurb, little paragraph I might write at the end. So yeah, maybe expect roleplay reviews to come from this channel from now on, and I'll probably just post the link into the comment section of the log. I encourage you guys to continue logging in color, by the way. It makes it a lot easier to read on the forum. Anyway, see you guys on the chat channel.